my vibe back then, because I was so worried about fitting in, and I was so worried about, you know, what are people gonna think when I show up wearing this, or what are people gonna think when I do this? And I find that sometimes, like Jack J, like he's super smart. Super smart people sometimes can be a little bit weird, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't fully like believe in Jack and I when we came over to do music from social media, because they thought that we were just like these kids who would amass these followers. Sometimes it happens right in front of your eyes, and like it's tough to see, because you might like this person or even love this person that just wants something from you, you know? And it's so hard to think that they might just be using you when like you feel like you have a genuine relationship with them.
Today I'm here with GILINSKY.
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good.
I like this casual, interview.
Chit-chat.
It's nice.
So you're born in Omaha?
Omaha, Nebraska, 1996, yeah.
Were your parents from there as well? Or?
Yeah. My parents are my mom is from New York, my dad is from Nebraska.
Oh, what did she move to Nebraska for?
She moved to Nebraska to start a family with my dad, so they both went to University of Pennsylvania, so UPenn, and that's where they met. My dad was a freshman, my mom was a sophomore, and they just hit it off. They started dating. You know, I think my dad asked her to marry him, I think maybe like 5 years into the relationship or something like that, and then they moved to Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, so my dad could finish the family business, you know, like do the whole thing. So he owns the family business now in Omaha, so that's where they still live. But yeah, I grew up there, and my dad's from there.
What's the family business?
The family business is this incentives company. So say your company is putting on this event, and you need X amount of t-shirts or X amount of pens or X amount of this or that, bags, whatever you can think of. He'll print your brand name on, you know, any sort of object, any item, and then, you know, you have those at your events. Like how if you go to, like, let's say you go to like an iHeartRadio event, they usually give you like a shirt that says iHeartRadio or something. Like sometimes he'll make those. And like, you know, any X amount of anything, he'll make it. I don't know exactly what he does, but I know that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah.
And when you were younger, you were in show choir, right?
I was, yes. Very good research. That's good, yeah. Yeah, I grew up with two older sisters, and they kind of influenced me to try out for this thing called show choir, and I got a lot of crap from it.
Why?
From my guys, I guess. Because, you know, they were all jocks. They were all football players and basketball players, soccer players. So they gave me a bunch of crap for that. But, you know, it is what it is, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So I'm very grateful that I had that experience.
What kind of music were your parents playing in the house when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, my mom and my dad were playing, you know, Tom Petty. They were playing some Pearl Jam. They were playing U2. They really liked Coldplay.
Was U2 the first like show you went to?
U2 was the very first show I went to. Yeah, so that's where that came from, because my parents loved U2. They loved Bono, The Edge, all those guys. And then, you know, I can't even think right now. Let's see, Elvis Presley. Man, there's so many really good artists. But honestly, my dad has a great taste in music, and he loved those rockers, those just like OG guys who are making authentic music.
What kind of music were you? What was the first music that you found yourself?
Found myself really gravitating towards. You know, I mean, like I always listened to like what my dad listened to. So a lot of Tom Petty, a lot of U2, stuff like that. But then when songs were coming out, I remember when Hot and Cold by Katy Perry came out.
Yeah,
I was
so
like in
good.
7th grade, starting to like flirt for the first time. And I remember there was these girls, and they loved to sing like Hot and Cold. For some reason, I don't know why I remember this, but I love that song because of that. But honestly, I mean, there's been great music for a while. Let's see, first song that really, man, that's a really tough question. There's so many good artists. There's so many good songs. Honestly, okay, this is a terrible answer, but if I love a song, it doesn't matter if I love you as an artist or not. I still respect you and I love that song for many different reasons. So I feel like that might change my answer. I don't know, like there's not one specific artist that I would say I like completely invested into. I've just been a music listener.
How do you describe yourself back then growing up?
Myself, man, I was definitely self-conscious, you know, going through high school, very much like aware of like me as an individual and aware of like other people, and I would definitely like observe other people a lot, I think a little bit more than I should have, in a way that like made me think too hard about who I was, you know? Sometimes when you're trying to find yourself, you think so hard about it that it becomes inauthentic, and I feel like that was my vibe back then, because I was so worried about fitting in, and I was so worried about, you know, what are people going to think when I show up wearing this, or what are people going to think when I do this? And I slowly learned through the high school experience that it's really not about what people think, it's about how you feel, and are you happy with what you're doing in life. So that's kind of like how I found myself in high school. But at the beginning, you know, elementary school, I didn't worry so much about that, because, you know, the popular kids, there was no popular kids in elementary school. Everyone was just having fun, playing with clay and simple stuff, you know, and life was really easy. But then middle school came around, and that's when I started to get like self-conscious and think so much about everything that I did. So I would say that was probably, me. You know, I was a fun guy. I always had Jack J in my life. He was like my best friend. I had some really great friends in Omaha who I still have today. A bunch of my best friends. And we just honestly always had such a good time in school and outside of school. We always made it a good time to hang with our group, you know? I don't know, but I was definitely like a little bit of an outcast, but still in with the cool crowd, I guess.
What are your parents' personalities like? Are you more similar to one of them?
Oh man, my mom, she's like the chillest human in the world. She's a yogi, like a yoga instructor. So she always tries to get me to meditate when I'm home and to like, you know, do yoga with her all the time. And she's super chill. I have that side of me, of course, that I like to bring out as much as possible. And then I have my dad, who's obviously like, or not obvious because you might not know him, but he's a really, really cool guy. He's super smart. He was like 4th in his class, in his graduating class. So he's super smart. And I find that sometimes, like Jack J, like he's super smart. Super smart people sometimes can be a little bit weird, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I gravitate towards people like Jack and my dad, is because like I like people who are different, who are weird, you know, and have that spunk about them. They're a little goofy, but at the same time they're so intelligent. So that's why I like when people are super intelligent, because it gives them that edge, or not edge, but it's that uniqueness about them that I like. So yeah, my dad's, I definitely feel like I'm a little bit of both of my parents, which makes sense because like biologically that's what it is. But they've definitely influenced me in a lot of ways, and I would say, you know, of course I'm like my parents, but I grew up with my friends as well, so I'm very much like my friends. So it's kind of like an influence of all those.
What were your favorite subjects?
My favorite subject in school? Well, okay. Elementary school, I would have told you my favorite subject was recess. I did like school because it helped me socialize and become a person, like a real human who can talk to people. But I never really was invested in school until high school, which sounds crazy because there's like, I don't know, like 8 years of school before that. I was kind of just checked out. But that is really easy stuff. So when I got to high school, it got harder, and I learned what I really didn't like and what I really did like. I hated math. I just like wasn't a math guy. I was in the lower math, but I would always get like 100%. So I kind of cheated myself. I would purposely fail the test where you would get into a math class, so I could get into the easiest one, and then I would just ace the easiest like class, and it would help my GPA. So that was good. Science I was really interested in because I feel like it's just like facts about our life and like the evolution of human beings, and I really was interested in that. But then when I got into 10th grade, I went into this class called marketing and this other class called entrepreneurship. And those two classes were like by far my favorite classes. I never skipped. I was always right on time, got really good grades in that class, and I always paid attention, and I really like invested my full abilities into that class. So that's why I feel like I truly love that class. But I think it kind of reflects in retrospect, you know, it reflects on like what I'm doing now. In hindsight, it like foreshadowed what I'm doing now, because I technically, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own business, and me and Johnson, you know, we're business partners, and so it's really cool that kind of like foreshadowed what I'm doing now.
Were you watching any movies or TV shows that inspired you, or like the comedy aspects for your initial Vines?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the comedy aspects for our initial Vines were definitely like Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, like movies like Step Brothers, and like these random, just funny movies that you could tell was improv, like the funniest moments, but it was just something magical about that comedic moment. And so there's, I think going way back to like 98, you know, like when I was 2 years old, I loved to just entertain people in any way possible, whether that was to sing, to dance, to act, to like tell a joke, whatever it was. I just loved to have the attention on me. I wasn't like you know, like an attention obsessed person, but I just loved to see people smile and make them laugh.
What clicked to you to be in a duo with Jack? Like, did you ever consider being a solo artist?
Honestly, no, and we never even had the conversation like, yo, should we just do this and make music together? It was always a thing, like, because when we introduced ourselves to our fans through social media, it was always Jack and Jack. And of course, we've had our individual accounts, and we've had individual followers that, you know, Jack might have that I don't have, or I might have that Jack doesn't have. But it was just a matter of like, you know, we came up together doing this. Like, I'd rather work with you than work alone. So we started making music, and we never even thought about it. We just put it out, and that was it. It was Jack and Jack. So I think going forward in the future, and even in the past, we've worked separately on things as individual artists or individual entertainers or whatever, but I think we'll continue to make music together and separately. Like, I don't think people should be afraid that we're going to split up, because that'll never happen. We've been friends since kindergarten. I was 4 years old. I'm 21 now, and not shit has changed. So we're definitely going to stay the exact same in terms of being friends and being a business together, but I don't think we should limit ourselves and not let ourselves venture out into these new horizons where we can possibly do amazing things. So I think in the future we'll definitely make stuff separate from one another and together.
What was it like working with Timbaland?
Working with Timbaland was pretty incredible. I mean, personally, growing up, I was never the guy looking up things on YouTube. I was always just kind of like taking in information as it came to me. So obviously I had known who Timbaland was. I'd seen his name come across on my radio as a kid, but I never knew what he looked like. So the first time we met, I didn't get that starstruck feeling that like you would normally get from such, you know, like a legendary producer or a celebrity, like someone might think when they meet Timbaland. But I didn't know who he was outside of just, I know he made music and he was really good at it. So when we met him, I had no idea what he looked like. I shook his hand. I didn't know it was him at first. And I think that helped the process because it didn't throw off the vibe at all. Neither Jack or I were starstruck in that moment. And Timbaland was just super, super accepting of our new artistry. And like, you know, times have changed since he first started making music. So I think it was amazing because when we got together, he understood that we're not going to be doing the same stuff that people were doing in the studio 20 years ago. We innovate and we make new ways of creating music, you know, and I think he really respected that, and he found a way to work with us through that. And we had a great time in the studio, man. I mean, I can't tell you the number of days we spent. I think we went a full month where every day, I think it was 2 Mays ago?
Yeah.
Something like that. A really long time ago. About a year ago, probably. Not that long, actually. But yeah, it was just amazing. We spent all of May together in the studio, and I've learned so much from him just over the years. And we work out at the exact same gym in LA. So we continue to see him, and he's just always telling us motivating things and trying to get us on the right track. So I really, really respect him.
Did you have some mentor for music or people to ask about when you were going from transitioning from more of the Vine to doing music professionally?
Man, a mentor for music. Honestly, I feel like a lot of people didn't fully like believe in Jack and I when we came over to do music from social media, because they thought that we were just like these kids who had amassed these followers and now they just want to make money, so they're going to put music out, which was completely not the case. Like, I know we talked about it earlier. I was in show choir. Johnson has been rapping since, like, he was 3 feet tall, and, like, which is only, like, 2 years ago now, but still, he's been rapping for no, I'm kidding. He's been rapping for, like, 10 years now, so it's crazy to see, I guess, like, how we've evolved. But to answer your question, I don't think we've had, like, a mentor, so to speak. I just think that because we're a duo, we always have each other, and that allows us to, of course, like, be freely creative, but when something is a little off or it doesn't feel right, like, there's another one of us to kind of counteract it and work towards the solution and find a way to make everything as good as it can be. So I would say no, there's probably not a mentor that I would say specifically, just us two together.
I asked this also to Sammy Wilk, but did you have difficulties with, like, trusting people at a young age, if they wanted to, like, if they were, like, sketchy when you started to get into music or moving to LA?
Yeah, definitely, because we moved out to LA 4 years ago, exactly 4 years ago, and we were pretty young. You know, I was 17 and Jack was 18, and we were very easily taking advantage. It would have been very easy to take advantage of us. Luckily, I think we had good heads on our shoulders, and we have great parents who support us through everything and kind of keep an eye on everything as well to make sure we're not, you know, getting screwed or anything. And so I would say yes, 100%. I was fearful that something bad might happen, someone might take advantage of us, but I was so young, and even though it was only 4 years ago, you mature a lot from 17 to 21, and I was so mentally youthful that I had not a worry in the world. I had just gotten to LA, I was fine, like, everything in my life was going perfectly, so I really wasn't that scared of anything happening, and I didn't realize how true the things people would tell me before I came to LA are. You know, like, people are out to get you. There are snakes in the grass, and there are definitely people who want something that you have. If you have something that can be monetized or anything that's lucrative at all, people want a piece of it, and I didn't understand that at all. And sometimes it happens right in front of your eyes, and, like, it's tough to see because you might like this person or even love this person that just wants something from you, you know? And it's so hard to think that they might just be using you when, like, you feel like you have a genuine relationship with them. But then, of course, after time passes, you know, you realize sometimes these people that you love the most or that you feel like care about you as well don't actually care about you because they're just using you for something that you have. So that's something that you have to be very careful about in LA. I would say I was never really that scared. I was always just in the back of my mind about it, but now it's like, okay, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff out here, and I feel like we can now navigate very smoothly through any situation that we're in LA. But yeah, it's definitely, for anyone coming out here, I would definitely say just be careful, because if you're truly talented, people are going to want something from you.
How do you think your music has changed since the early songs you wrote?
Man, our music has changed drastically. I mean, the very first song that I wrote was a song called Distance, and it wasn't truthfully about anything, you know? Of course the song is about something, but to me it didn't mean anything. And I think back in the day I was writing things that I thought people wanted to hear, or maybe this would be good for a song title, or this is good to sing about. But now it's more, I pull straight from the heart. And when I'm writing a song, I sit down and I think about, what am I feeling right now today? Like, what's going on in my life? And that allows me to really focus in and write something that's authentic and true to who I am. Whereas back in the day, I don't think I was very passionate about everything that I was saying, even though I knew I wanted to make music, and I knew I wanted to sing and entertain people. I didn't know, like, what to say. And now it's not like even a question in my mind. It's just, how do I feel? That's really the only question. So I feel like the biggest way that our music has changed is it's mature now, and there's true passion behind the lyrics that we're saying. We're being fully honest, and we're not really making music for anybody but ourselves. Of course, we want to make music for our fans that helps people get through tough times, or maybe, you know, just music to put on at a party or whatever. But when it comes down to it, we're really only making music for ourselves because that's our outlet emotionally to just get away from our problems. So we just write down our problems and then we sing them. And when people also feel that way and relate to our own problems, it makes us feel good. And I feel like that's kind of the formula for an artist, is as messed up as it sounds, like it doesn't really do anything but make you feel better, you know? So it's like, it's kind of like this depressing, like, I guess, what do you call it? It's like it's a sad, like, way to think about it, but almost every artist that you hear on the radio is feeling something about something, which is obvious, but I'm saying, like, they just put their problems into a song hoping people feel the same way, but there's no guarantee. It's just like that's their release from the sorrow or the pain that they're feeling. And so I feel like the biggest way that our music has changed is the maturity and the way our tones have changed, our delivery. We're much more confident now than we ever were back then, because we were in high school when we were releasing our very first music, and we had to go to school the next day and just get a bunch of shit from our friends about, oh, like, you're putting a song out, like, what are you doing? Like, they didn't get it, and now it's like, that's my profession. So people out here, they understand, you know? Like, I'm a singer, I'm in a group, but back in the day, I was holding back so much because I felt like I'm just a high school kid. I'm not like this pop star or anything, because like I'm surrounded by all these other high school kids who are telling me that you have to be a normal high school kid. Now I'm in LA where everyone's telling everybody you got to be the best version of yourself you can be, so I'm striving to be that person instead of trying to keep myself in this bubble in high school. So I think just letting loose and being free for sure has changed our music.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
Biggest challenges so far? Oh man, I mean, I think every day is a challenge, you know? Even if you love what you're doing, you got to get up and you got to continue to do it if you want to keep living the life that you're living. So every day is a challenge, you know? You got to motivate yourself to get up. Some days are easier, some days are harder, but I would say, man, my biggest challenge, I would just say that I've been like blessed, that I haven't had too many problems in my life, and I've had such supportive parents, such supportive family, such a supportive friend group, that nothing in my life, even my biggest problems, are that challenging to deal with, because I have so many great people around me to help me get through it. And I think that's the point of having family and friends, is to just make you feel good. And that's the point, because life doesn't last forever. You just have to make the most of every moment. So if you can figure out a way to just feel good all the time, that's the way to do it. Family and friends.
Yeah. What does love mean to you?
Love. I feel like I'm still figuring that out for sure. But I think what love means to me, love just means that you will do anything in your power to keep, I don't even know how to say it. Love is, I mean, it's so tough because I don't want to use other vocab words in
describing love.
While describing love. But love is just like, it encompasses all good feelings. You know, when you love someone or something, you will do anything to make sure that that thing or person stays safe, and you'll also do anything to make sure that that person or thing is happy and is in a good place mentally. But I guess if it's a thing, it doesn't have a mind. But regardless, I think it just means that you really care for this thing or this person, and you'll do anything for them. Yeah.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
Man, what do I want to be remembered for? That's a lot of pressure. I just hope that one day, you know, when I'm gone and people live on, I just hope the people who knew me and knew my name will think good things, you know? That's all I can hope, is just positive energy associated with my name and my brand. I just want people to hear my music or see my work, and I want them to be inspired to positively impact the world, you know, and make good decisions in general, be nice to other people. That's really what it comes down to. Of course, I could say something like, You know, I want to be remembered for being the best singer. I want to be remembered for be like the best model or this or that. But like that's all just titles and, you know, stuff that the human race has created. I really, really just want, no matter what kind of species or, you know, like, because in the future we have no idea. Someday we could share this planet with another high mind being, which sounds so trippy, but I'm getting way too deep. But I'm just saying, you know, I want people to just have positive energy, because the more positive energy, the less negative energy, and you know, the better the places we go. So
yeah, I love that.
I'm praying that that's where we're headed.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, of course.
Bye, guys.